Alright, it's been about a few weeks since I uploaded my video. Let's see how it's doing, and oh my god.
Who are you people?
No, but for real guys, thank you so much for the incredible support and love that you've shown on the Backrooms theory video. So many incredible comments. I'm pretty sure underrated is my favorite word at the moment. Thank you guys so much. I really can't thank you enough for 30,000 views on that one video. That is insane to me. I really appreciate all the support, the kindness and the love, and the insane growth of the community. So hi, hello. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully you enjoy my content. I'm kind of doing like a Wendigoon kind of thing. As you can tell, I'm doing a kind of Wendigoon vibe where I just kind of post, you know, things that I like to talk about, things that I find interesting. So if you like that kind of content, it's like really laid back, it's really chill, then definitely be sure to stick around. And if you do stick around, thank you. I really do appreciate it. Welcome to everybody, all the new members of the community. I can't wait to upload more videos with you and interact with you guys more, so I'm really excited about that. But before we get into the video really quick, I wanted to mention one more thing. I'll be starting work on my next Backroom Theories video on Ivan Beck and the Complex. So if you guys have any ideas that you want to like brainstorm or bounce off of and to have your theories or your speculations featured in the next video, definitely be sure to go to the link in the description, go ahead and join the Discord and come hang out with us, get to know the community, come hang out. But enough of me blabbering, let's get right into the video, shall we? Few levels in the Backrooms encompass that feeling of weird, dreamcore suburbia quite like level 55. The rolling hills, the off-putting water tower, and the same house seemingly copy-pasted to every other hilltop results in an uncanny image of a neighborhood. But as you can probably guess, this video isn't about level 55, it's about its sublevels. And today I'm going to be talking about 4 of the sublevels within level 55 that I think are cool and unnerving. Starting with level 55.02, also known as It Feels Like Flying. This level has a survival difficulty class of class 0 and is safe, stable, but experiences time dilation effects. There's also a little message at the top of the level page that is left by someone named The Gardener, and it reads, "Aw, I told you not to pop it. Look at this mess. Well, I guess I can't blame you. You're way too cute. Now, let's just put you somewhere safe, shall we?" A striking difference between this sublevel and level 55 is the appearance. This sublevel appears like a regular suburban neighborhood, whereas level 55 looks like a neighborhood out of someone's dreams. This sublevel is also completely smooth and flat in all directions and dimensions. And of course, it has a totally normal road too, right? Well, no. See, the roads here in level 55.02 have a sort of sky texture applied to them, similar to level 99. This results in a flat surface with a dynamic image of the sky above. While this is admittedly weird to look at and you may be hesitant to walk on the road, it's actually completely safe to do just that. Even though there's a sky mirrored onto it, it still functions just like a normal road. This sky is the reason for the level's nickname, since walking on the sky road can make you feel like you're flying. Another cool property of this road is the fact that it acts like a mirror for you. But if you were to hold something and look at your reflection, you would only see yourself. This is a pretty cool concept. I think someone should unironically make some sort of dreamcore music album with a wanderer selfie from level 55.02 as the album cover. The sublevel's climate has been described as stable, and it's always a nice and sunny afternoon. It's not clear how the level receives its light, however, since there's no sun here. And not only that, but there also doesn't seem to be a dark spot or corner anywhere here. There's just no shadows. So the uniform lighting all throughout the level creates unnatural looking landscapes. There's also street signs and buildings like post offices and security outposts. There are cars, mailboxes, lampposts, trash cans, trees, and benches scattered around the sublevel in their typical areas and placements. But anything inside of the objects is virtual and doesn't collide with anything else. So, for example, if you removed a trash can, you would see whatever trash was in there seemingly suspended in midair. But that's not the weirdest property that the sublevel has. All the objects in the level are only partially used or consumed. For instance, there's fresh, half-eaten food that can sometimes be found on the dining room tables inside the houses. Wanderers can go into these houses since the doors have been reported to be unlocked. When a wanderer steps inside, they'll be seamlessly transported to a temporary manifestation of another indoor house-based level. but you'll still be in level 55.02. This is the only weird aspect to the house interior, as there haven't been any other instances of anomalies recorded here. Speaking of anomalies, level 55.02 has a weird effect that can also be found on other level 55 sublevels. This is known as the cleansing effect, and it removes the need for food and water, and it also instantly heals any and all injuries as soon as a wanderer arrives in the level. And I mean any. I'm talking fatal injuries too. Got a hole in your torso? Not anymore! This cleansing effect also impacts your mental health too, as it's been shown to reduce extreme emotions. However, this also means all of your emotions are subdued, making it easier for the time distortion effect to take place and impact the wanderer. The temporal distortion effect also causes wanderers to lose their sense of time. And not just that, but your vision will begin to degrade and worsen the longer you stay here. This vision alteration only seems to affect living people, as any photos or videos taken within the level do not yield this same effect, allowing for anyone to observe the level without the impact to their vision. There are no entities on this level, but some wanderers have claimed to see shadows of the residents carrying out their daily routine out of the corner of their eyes. This hasn't been confirmed though. And as for colonies and outposts, there aren't any here. But that's not for lack of safety. This is probably one of the safest sublevels in the Backrooms actually, but it's because this sublevel has an isolation quality, like most other backroom levels. To enter this sublevel, a wanderer can doze off while floating in a balloon in level 55.01 for a guaranteed entrance to this sublevel. Or you can go through a door leading to an outdoor area in level 56 to have a rare chance of ending up here. And to exit, you can lay down on the ground for an extended period of time before sinking and being transported to level 55.03. A wanderer can also try to enter the houses to have a chance of being sent to the level the specific interior is modeled after, but this exit isn't confirmed to work often. To summarize, level 55.02 is a surreal neighborhood with a sky as the road. There's places like post offices and security outposts besides the houses here, and it has an anomalous effect that heals any and all injuries as well as keeping you sustained so you don't need food or water. This is a really neat sublevel. It's cool having a weird suburban sublevel within an even weirder surreal neighborhood level. Next sublevel is level 55.1, also known as Planet Motion. This has a survival difficulty class of 2E and is unsafe, stable, and contains non-entity hazards. The message from the gardener on this level page reads, "It is not quite healthy for you to stain my bowl for washing my clothing. There aren't any immediate dangers, but just leave as soon as possible." This sublevel is the 10th known sublevel of level 55. I genuinely don't know how many sublevels this particular level could have, but apparently it's a lot. But this level presents itself as a vast open abyss of gas that's almost fluid-like. There are lots of large floating spheres here, and these are known as planets. These planets can vary in size, but their radius has been found to be between 500 to 600 meters, and oddly enough, they're completely covered in grass. The size of the level is unknown, and it's not really feasible to explore the level due to the sheer size of it and its inconvenient physical layout. When a wanderer ends up here, they'll find themselves on one of these grassy planets. There will be a spiral road that leads into the abyss rather than the bottom of the planet itself. While this planet is small, it still has a gravitational pull that is equal to that of Earth's, and because of this, it's not possible to explore other spheres, which only adds to the unknown nature of the sublevel. But wanderers are still able to see the other planets in the distance, which also have a single building that varies in appearance. Of course, these things being planets mean that they rotate, so you can see the buildings at weird angles sometimes. They can even appear to be upside down. It's like you're in space and looking at other worlds. But don't worry about there not being air here. There's plenty of that. Oddly enough, there's also light here, and this is from a quote-unquote sun that is just a gigantic sphere stuck to the top center of the sky. Not only that, but it doesn't seem to change in position or distance, so it's unknown the true size of this sun. There will also be a lone 6-story wooden house on the sphere the wanderer will wake up on. The structure of this house is described as extremely fragile, with the floor shaking violently when stepped on. But while the intensity of the shaking is alarming, you don't have to worry about the house falling, as it never will. Inside the house, a wanderer can find furniture and decorations from the 60s, and they all seem to be fastened to the ground, either with glue or strong tape. This also extends to the decorations on these objects, so things like flower vases, kitchen utensils, and other decorations will also be fastened on top of the furniture, so you can't really pick them up or use them. Like I mentioned earlier, the house has 6 floors and includes an attic and a basement. The first floor of the house looks like a hotel lobby and has the typical setting one would expect to find in such an area. There's a receptionist desk here, complete with bells and phones, but the quantity of these objects is the weird part. For instance, you can find more than 10 phones and 5 bells on the same desk. all arranged one after another. It's important that wanderers avoid using the phones and the bells, as these have been shown to have anomalous effects. The phones emit a frequency that can cause brain damage in wanderers, and the bells emit a soothing, almost addictive sound when dinged. This sound has been described as satisfying to the human mind, and becomes more pronounced the more times a wanderer rings the bell. As you can imagine, this can be addicting, like I mentioned earlier, and can cause emotional distress if the bell is removed. This distress and damage can take a long time to recover from, so avoid the bells too. Wanderers can also find boxes with furniture parts inside of them all over the building, suggesting that whoever owns the house hasn't finished moving in. There are also strange rooms behind the receptionist desks that contain items that are described as trivial and serve little to no purpose in the back rooms. This floor is the only one that seems to be unpacked and decorated, as the other floors are described as empty, save for the boxes with furniture parts. Of course, with a wacky sublevel like this, it's not surprising that there would be anomalous properties that affect wanderers. The cleansing effect is here as well. Of course, this effect applies only when a wanderer enters a sublevel. Moving on to the effect unique to this sublevel, and this is known as monotone vision. This effect is described as, well, seeing in black and white. Pretty self-explanatory, I'd say. But this can be dangerous because it might obscure any anomalies hiding in the darker areas of the sublevel where it's harder to see. An interesting thing to be noted is that there are apparently rainbows here on this sublevel, but since your vision is monotone, you can only really make out the general outline of it as it extends to the horizon. Like I mentioned earlier, this level is devoid of entities, but just avoid using the phone or ringing the bell. Seriously, don't ring the bell. This level also features an isolation quality, meaning there's no possible way to set up a colony or outpost here. To enter this sublevel, you can go through a black and white window on level 55.09 to be sent to the inside of the house here. You can also no-clip through a kid's pencil drawing of a house and rainbows on level 106 to be sent here. Or you can find an old book resembling the book from level exit and open it to have the ground collapse under you and send you here. It's funny to imagine a wanderer getting so tired of trying to no-clip through a wall, and so they destroy it and it somehow works the same way. It'd certainly make traveling through the backrooms more reliable. At least. To exit the sublevel, a wanderer can enter the basement, and as soon as they stand on the basement floor, they'll no-clip through the floor and the planet itself, where they'll fall through the void and get sent to level 55.11. To summarize, level 55.1 is a vast abyss filled with huge grassy spheres, and these are referred to as planets. Each planet has a house on it with varying appearances, but travel between planets is not possible. These houses are mostly empty save for boxes of furniture scattered around the other floors, while the first floor looks more like a hotel. This is a really weird level, and I like the concept of a bell whose chime makes you insane and addicted to it. It's extremely absurd and weird. Kinda like me. Level 55.11, also known as Homesick, has a Class 0 difficulty and is safe, stable, and is populated with friendly entities. The note here by the gardener says, "If you're reading this, I just wanted to confess one thing that I haven't to anyone else yet. I once was a human too. I lived a fulfilling life, and when I got old, I seemed to suffer from memory loss. And I gradually lost myself on the way. When I woke up again, I was this. Strange, right? You're hearing an old lady from the 50s talking here. I know that I don't sound like one. I'll talk about myself more in the other notes you could find in your travels. Take this as motivation to do so. Have fun at my home, and don't worry, if you get into trouble, I'll know." The gardener seems so sweet. Level 55.11 is the 11th known sublevel of level 55 and is described as an infinite expanse of rural neighborhoods taking place on a hilly terrain. And the main difference between this sublevel and the other sublevels is the lack of any surreal qualities. In fact, it seems to be the neighborhood level 55 is supposed to be a caricature of. As a result, this setting makes wanderers feel homesick for their real-world home, hence the name of the level. The regular level 55 is filled with a bunch of cartoonish and exaggerated hills with the same house copy-pasted onto the hills, almost like how you'd see a neighborhood in a dream. Whereas here in level 55.11, the setting is significantly more realistic. There's a real sky and an actual road and even grass here. Wanderers can also find lakes and streams here too. Not only that, but there's a day and night cycle and even seasons. It'll get cold enough to snow on some days, but your house will have the necessary items for you to survive, and they'll replenish themselves when they get low. The neighborhood itself appears to extend infinitely in every direction. However, it's not known for certain, as it seems like there's a psychological effect that prevents wanderers from exploring the outer areas. It's almost like the level or its invisible inhabitants here are talking to you, telling you, "It's not safe outside of home," or "This is your home, don't leave us alone." This pleading from the unknown voices will eventually dissuade a wanderer from further exploration towards the outskirts of the neighborhood. If a wanderer were to leave the level, they would feel like they're betraying their family and leaving them behind, causing a massive amount of guilt. But this isn't the only mental effect present here. This sublevel makes wanderers believe that there are people living here in the neighborhood, these usually being the people the wanderer knows, like friends, family, other loved ones, and given the fact that the level has an isolation quality, the effect will simply make the wanderer believe that their loved ones are out running errands or just aren't home. Despite this, you'll never feel lonely. Interestingly, the level will essentially assign you a house when you arrive, and that's where you'll live if you decide to stay. You're also able to go into the other houses here, but they'll make you feel as if you're trespassing and shouldn't be there. Nothing will happen to you though. Not only that, but the longer that you're here, the more false memories are planted in your head. These memories include the locations of things you own and the layout of the house that you were assigned. The feeling and memories are so convincing that the first place a wanderer goes to when they come here is their house, since it makes the most sense to do so. These houses look liminal, as you would expect from an area in the backrooms, and not only do you have a free house, but you also have access to supplies like food and clothes, which are replenished periodically. You also have access to the internet here, so you can live your best life in the backrooms and still crank 90s on Fortnite. While this all sounds great, most people would feel lonely after staying here for a while. Not on this level though, as loneliness is reported to not exist on this level. This is truly one of the best and safest places to stay in the backrooms, and I think I'd probably stay here too. The only entities present here on the sublevel are facelings that take the appearance of people that you know. While these facelings may display characteristics commonly seen with regular facelings, such as missing facial features or their entire face, it's not able to be seen unless a picture or video of the faceling is taken. These faceling copies of your loved ones will typically show up during bad weather, like rain or a snowstorm, and wanderers will end up letting them in. These facelings will behave like your loved ones too, which is a nice change of pace from the constant isolation and hostility of the backrooms. However, they will usually ask or mention that they need to leave. A wanderer can try to ask them to stay, but they'll just end up vanishing without a trace anyway. These copies can visit multiple times, and the cool thing is that they'll even retain the same memories and remember their last encounter with the wanderer. This can lead to actual friendships and relationships forming. However, the memories of these faceling creatures will vanish if a wanderer were to end up leaving the sublevel, which might be for the best because I think I'd be an emotional wreck if I remembered them. Of course, let's say there's a faceling of someone you know who you don't want to see or talk to. If they come to your door and ask to be let in, you can say no and they'll leave, and that particular faceling will never come to your house again. There are no colonies or outposts since the level has that isolation effect, meaning wanderers will be in their own separate instance of level 55.11. Not to mention most people choose to live in their own house rather than live in an outpost or established colony. Why wouldn't you? However, there is an online discussion group about the sublevel, and this allows wanderers in their own instances of level 55.11 to communicate with each other and help report information on the sublevel. To enter the sublevel, a wanderer can go into the basement of level 55.1 and be sent here, or you can walk into an anomalous mirage of an outskirts area of a city on level 11. To exit, you can harm a faceling on this sublevel to be sent to level 9, which is pretty mean, and I don't know why you'd do that, just to end up in a super dangerous neighborhood level, but hey, you do you. A wanderer can also refuse to leave a birthday party after it ends to be sent to level fun, or you can find an unreal looking rainbow and follow it until you reach a surreal looking house and enter it to be sent to level 55.12. So to summarize, this sublevel is a realistic depiction of the main level 55 and is a great place for a wanderer to make a home in the backrooms. You'll have your own house with replenishing clothing, food, and water, and there's even internet here so you won't be bored. The level also removes all loneliness and injuries and will actually give you fake memories of living here on the sublevel. It's basically like being back in reality, only you're isolated and get visited during bad weather. I think I'd be staying here. What about y'all? The last sublevel I'll be talking about is level 55.15, also known as Outside In. The note here says, going into my vents definitely isn't healthy. Maybe consider turning back? If you insist on doing so, just bear in mind that there are many hazards in the vents, and I can't even list them out. Let's just say you might die. Hope that's enough information for you. Well, it's pretty on the nose, I don't know about that. This sublevel has a survival difficulty of 3E and is unsafe, unstable, and contains non-entity hazards. This sublevel takes the form of a massive one-floor hotel with buildings, which are the hotel rooms, and outdoor furniture can be seen scattered throughout. The ceiling here is made from luminous rocky tiles with an unknown light source, and the walls of the building aren't your typical drywall, as they've been replaced with exterior construction materials like brick, stone, concrete, or wood, and they can come in different styles, colors, and textures. They also have a vibe and appearance that can range from the 60s to modern times, with the furniture matching the respective time periods of the individual buildings. The furniture here seems to be in good condition, as if they're maintained and cleaned regularly. So you can have an 80s themed interior in one house and then have a mid-2000s interior in another. The doors of these hotel rooms are marked with their sector numbers ranging from 0 to 9, and then their house number. Any sector onwards will have a numerical value written in an unknown and incomprehensible language. These sectors are not anomalous though, just the number. Like I mentioned earlier, these houses have interiors that vary in time periods. They're also much bigger on the inside than they appear on the outside, and are decorated to appear more like a home than a hotel room, with furniture matching their respective time periods. Wanderers can find plenty of supplies in these rooms, and some of them will even have running water and working electricity. However, it's important to bring devices to measure the electrical output, as it can vary from building to building, and too much or too little electricity could damage your electronics. If a wanderer were to travel deep enough into the level, they'll come across a sector known as Sector Infinity. This area of the sublevel is also known as the folded point, and is the only area of the sublevel with anomalous properties. Instead of repeated manifestations of the same building we see in other sectors, there is a sudden cutoff to a large, empty area. Appearance-wise, the floor and ceiling here is sectioned into grids that have the textures of the walls found on the outside of the buildings. The level page describes it as one grid having a cement texture while another has wood. Some grids are even comprised of cotton and will sink like memory foam when stepped on, which could be dangerous if you're not careful with your footing. Some odd events can happen here as well. One of them involves random objects falling and no-clipping through the ceiling into the floor before disappearing. Some of these objects appear to be things that have been lost by wanderers. A wanderer even said that they dropped something and saw it sink into the floor as if it was sinking into water. There have been efforts to collect these items, but it hasn't been successful, since they seem to clip through your hands before vanishing through the floor again. There's even a theory that these lost items could be gathered by using a magnet, but that hasn't been confirmed. The other documented phenomenon is dilated space, and is described as an instance of sector infinity appearing as a small hallway with separating sectors. Once a wanderer enters this instance of sector infinity, they'll notice that the rooms appear to be far ahead of them. This is the moment when a wanderer has entered the dilated space. This space is non-Euclidean in nature, and there's severe electromagnetic interference. It's actually been shown to behave like an EMP, disabling electronic equipment and producing a loud buzzing noise that is able to be heard and will persist for hours even after leaving the sector. These are not the only phenomenon, however. It's thought that there are many more undocumented anomalous events that can occur here, even ones that could pose fatal harm to wanderers. Because of this, it's highly recommended that you stay away from this sector. There are no entities, colonies, or outposts on this level, and this is due to its isolation effect. You have the entire level to explore for yourself. Just watch where you're walking. To enter this sublevel, a wanderer can find a large hotel building on level 55.14 and enter it to come here to level 55.15. To exit, you can go back through that door to go back to level 55.14, or you can also no-clip in Sector Infinity to be sent to either the Void, level 99, or the Hole. A wanderer can also find a house that looks exactly like the houses from the main level 55 and enter it to be sent back to level 55. Or you can wander into a pink corridor to be seamlessly transported to level 55.16, which hasn't even been documented yet. To summarize, level 55.15 is an infinitely expanding one-story building with luminous rocky ceilings and numerous small houses with outdoor furniture scattered around them. The buildings have different decorations and furniture that can depend on the time period and can range from the 60s to modern day furnishings. Some of these buildings even have running water and electricity. These buildings are grouped into areas known as sectors, which are non-anomalous except for Sector Infinity, which has a lot of weird and sometimes dangerous properties that make exploring here not really worth it. Unless you're trying to go to level 99, which I get it. I want to go there too. And that was it for Spooky Sublevels level 55. I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. I always have a ton of fun making these videos. It's always fun to read about backroom levels that have a weird core, dream core kind of setting, where it's not just liminal spaces, but it's also things that you would just see from your imagination, which is fantastic. I love it. Thank you guys again for all the incredible amount of love and support that you've shown me these past few weeks. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you take care, and I will see you in the next one.